Welcome back. It's been a minute, hasn't it? Well, I'm still in the process of moving. Cyberpunk Holiday here. As you can see, this isn't normally what I use for doing these videos. This is actually my computer desk, but I don't have my drafting board here yet, so this is what I'm doing for this video. Should be here next week, hopefully, barring any unforeseen circumstances. Sorry I kept you waiting. So Darkest Image 2, um, if anyone remembers Darkest Image 1, it was an image book that basically showcased some of the stuff that was coming from Image. They sold over 1 million copies. It had Sam Keith Max in it, some stuff from Liefeld, Jim Lee. Um, yeah, it was a showcase book, kind of like DC Presents or something. And Darkest Image 2, this is a fan project. It's a pretty thick ass book. And I was a part of this. We made zero profit off of it. It was for the William Mesner Loebs Fund, originally the Comics Initiative. But it went to Williams Mesner Loebs because he is struggling right now. He's the co creator of the Max. And uh, he's doing pretty bad. So he's had a run of unfortunate luck and circumstances. And so we did this in order to sell some copies to donate to the fund and help him out. There's so many creators in this book that, uh, just did a couple things here and there. And then there's ones who did stories. Obviously, I did a story. My story's the last one in the book. So we will get to that, and I will explain the process of which I went through to create that story. But until then, let's kind of skim through this real quick. I don't want to spoil all of it because there technically are still copies people can buy of this. And if you are interested, again, all the money goes to helping out co-creator of the Max, William Mesner Loebs. He's also done The Flash and Wonder Woman and some other things. You might know of him. And so, anyways, I mean, as you could see already, great stuff, great artwork already. This was put together by Mark Darden, and Mark's a cool dude. Produced by Marcosis 6 Studios, which I'm guessing is his studio. And as you can see, here's all the creators. Mark's statement right here, I think. Oh no, Andrew Koch. I read this. It's been a minute. Publisher Mark Darden, editor Andrew Koch, and then art consultant Bing Kung, and then contributors here. I'm in here somewhere. Table of contents. Let's see. 300 pages. Not bad. So yeah, let's just go through this real quick. It's super fun. All the stories in here are just a blast to read because they're essentially fans messing around with Image characters, and sometimes they're serious, sometimes they're just, having fun with it. Sometimes they're showcasing sequels. They're showcasing extreme violence. I'm sorry that I'm not familiar with every single Image character. I was 6 years old when they started. They got going, and so some of these people, I have no idea who they are. So show some art here. This is kind of hilarious. As everyone knows or familiar with Shadowhawk, um, one of the things that he's known for is breaking spines. And survivors of Shadow Knight took our ability to stand, but not our ability to stand together. um, this is kind of funny because all these people in wheelchairs have sort of been, had their spines broken by Shadowhawk. And so they're just like, we're gonna go celebrate, and they go to this pier and they do all this crazy stuff, and they actually tell stories, and they run into them, and they yell at them, "You're still out here doing this shit? You forced me to go bigger, and I graduated beyond you. You broke my back, but I came back stronger." And he's like, "Huh? What are you gonna do? You already used your big move, you loser. You can't break us twice." And this guy over here is like, "I gotta get into that crew." Absolutely hilarious and well done by all the cartoonists in here. Some pinups. This is by Omac Vera. Omac, aka Ruben, he is a great talent and a dude who's just got some skills like you wouldn't believe. I mean, everyone in here does, and there's so many different varieties of art going on here that I couldn't even go over all of them. More another pinup, Andre Quesada. Inside joke. Here's an interesting thing. When the Ninja Turtles went to Image, it was really dark and even darker than they were before, and just weird. Actually, I couldn't get into it. It was such a bizarre thing. One of them becomes a half robot. I think it's Donatello. I've read it, not recently, but I've read it. And so they're just going back through time here. I can't remember if it's time or another universe, but they basically go back and meet their former selves, was it? There's a lot of stories in here. It's hard to keep up. Some great art here, though. I mean, just look at that. Holy shit, look at that Krang. Awesome art. Yeah, it's different universes. It's gotta be. I don't remember. Looks like some Power Rangers. TMNT Art Gallery. This is hilarious. The newer mutants instead of the New Mutants, like Cable's first appearance. Bebop. Inside joke. Wizard used to have these how to draw sections inside of the magazine, and this is kind of like a rip on that, using the Savage Dragon fin, how to draw the fin from every angle correctly. Just absolute hilarity here. It's so good. This kind of reminds me of God, who was the guy that does Girl Scouts? Um, Artist Bing Kung, it drew it. Let me look this up real quick. Jim Mahfood. This Vogue story right here. The art really reminds me of Jim Mahfood, who does the art in Girl Scouts. It kind of has that same like style and substance to it. Very loose, very open, very free. I enjoy it a lot. Like I said, you're gonna get so many um, different styles on here. Some more TMNT. I mean, just whoever did all this, because sometimes I don't see the names here. Um, Everyone was on fire during this, because this, I mean, just even the little like rock soldiers doing the techno drum, it all just looks so rad. Everyone using everything in their toolkit to get, you know, the same effects you'd see from a long time ago in the 80s, and just kind of the styles of that period. ABCs of image. Somebody does all these ABCs of image, all the characters they could think of to fit into each letter. M, obviously, for the Max. R for Redeemer, my favorite Spawn villain. Shadowhawk, Violator, Wildstorm, and then this really cool Jim Lee, Rob Liefeld, Todd McFarlane. Zombies. The Hypernaut. Chapel. Some more pinups. Mark did a good job too with putting these pinups in between the stories here. I mean, I know he had to do it page by page and kind of sort everything into, okay, this is the Max stories and this is kind of the Spawn stories, and putting them in an order, sort of. I could see the process of how he did it, but it had to have been a lot of extra work. So hats off to Mark for doing that. Cool dude. Supreme Madness. Supreme gets into a tussle. I don't want to like share all of it. Good stuff. Some Max, Spawn. And as you can see, I mean, man, like, it looks like it could just be if somebody took over the Max after Sam Keith left, you know. This is really good. It's kind of how he forged his hands. But he's not. It's in a soup kitchen. So this guy who, Christopher John Troutman, like, check this out. Hobo TV. It's not TV, it's imagination. Apparently he had his art originally featured in an issue of the Max. So that's who's drawing all this. These ones right here, I think. I believe that was the story. Don't quote me. And it's showing through the years just some different ones he's done, including this one. I remember liking this, but I'm sorry, I can't remember exactly what the story was about. It was fun to read though, and I actually enjoyed the style a lot. This one looks like some old school cartooning here. In that the paper looks old, you know, it's like a newsstand paper. It's got that old glow to it. I'm kind of not reading the stories and telling you what they're all about because I'd rather somebody try and make a purchase here and, you know, help out the fund and read them for themselves. Funny thing about this. Now I don't know if the person who did this story, Edgar, did this because of the same reason, but in the MCU movies, if people don't know why the big lettering of like North Carolina just pops up on the like to let you know where they're at real quick, it's because CinemaSins would always ding them for saying it's like a specific place in North Carolina. So they actually were watching CinemaSins, the brothers, and they're like, you know what? We're just gonna put bold letters right across the screen, so we don't get dinged for that on CinemaSins on YouTube. And so they would just put like Guatemala. Now I don't know if this person did that, but I would assume so. Taking a cue from that. Now they're supposed to be undercover here doing a mission, and things go awry. Destruction. Covert team. And he's like, I thought we were a covert action team. Finn. Good stuff. The Temptation of Profit. That one's fun. So not only did Mark put this together, and I'm gonna give him props because as I was going through this, his stories were always my favorite, and the artist he worked with in this. I think this is drawn by John Golden, who's just phenomenal artist in this Kid Hawker story. And essentially what it is it's like this kid Shadowhawk who's doing these like, you know, kid things. He's like doing the voices for the bad guy here. Give me all your special treasures, lady. You incredulous, witless fiend. Have you no shame? No. And he takes down the bad guy, the bear. And his sister comes in and steals one of his action figures, so he runs off to chase after her. I mean, this is the kind of cartooning that goes back to stuff I would read growing up, you know, in the 80s and 90s. It's almost like a Calvin and Hobbes type thing, you know, or Dennis the Menace even. And just the fun little banter here. I will break the back of the guilty. It will happen. Mom, he's doing it again. You can't break your sister's back, dear. You know, just so positive energy, fun cartooning that what makes you laugh and makes you feel good inside with the little laughs involved. And Mark did a good job in writing this because he clearly a fan of that period, and I love it. She's like, it's not so bad when you're older. You want a grilled cheese? Yes. I want a grilled cheese too, his sister yells. How did she even hear that? And there's this awesome pinup here of Kid Hawker. I love it. This is Origin in Flames, the musical. They're doing like a musical number here. Spawns with the bums in the alleyway. Savage Dragon shows up. There's Chapel, Wanda, Violator, Win. And then the Max shows up at the end to sing along with them. This is it's a fun little thing. James Windsor Smith drew this by Mark Darden. I think it's a poetry he had done that he retooled for this, is what I remember reading. I could be wrong, don't quote me. James recently did a GoFundMe, and I have his comic Papa Balloon and Cactus here somewhere. I'm still moving. Maybe I'll review it at some point. But he's got an interesting style. I don't know if he's still like trying to grow as an artist. It's kind of what it feels like, but he also just doesn't as you can see, like his idea of layouts and the way he tells a story is kind of experimental. It's almost like Sam Keith and the Max, you know, just using 20 panel grids, but in a weird way. As you can see, it continues. Some more Max. This is the poem, the poetry. James Windsor Smith just does it his own way. And, you know, it's interesting because it's not something you'd see in any comic book pretty much ever outside of maybe the Max. And that's the end of the story there. Another pinup. The Max Art Gallery. I actually did a pinup too. Mark didn't include it, and I'm not like mad about that because I personally just threw those pinups in there just as like whatevers. They weren't even colored. They're just black and white. It's fine. Spawn versus the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. If you ever wanted that crossover, this book has it. Definitely an interesting story with great art. As you can see, it's and with the death of Al Simmons' Spawn, we see the birth of a new team of Spawn. Spawnardo, Spongelo, Spawnael, and Spawnatello. Interesting concept, Kevinator, but I'm going to have to pass this time. No one will ever buy a Spawntelo figure. I can't do it. I can't do a McFarlane. Kevin Eastman pitching to Todd about a Spawn and Ninja Turtle crossover. That's what it was. Spawn's energy meter runs out here at the end. I hate to say it, I'm not familiar with these characters. I think that's Vega from Street Fighter. Maybe, but I don't know. Prophet. Some more stories. I hate to skip over anyone's work, but just in the essence of kind of not showing all of it. This one's interesting in that it changes styles completely. It's like got a Larson, a Frank Miller Sin City. It's got a 90s one. It's kind of like a shout out to like She-Hulk being the, what's a nice way to put this? The watered down version of another property called The Incredible Hulk. And then this is kind of like the Savage Dragon version of She-Dragon. Excuse me. Great stuff. Some more Gru here. Mark Darden. I think he's just a big fan of Gru because every single time he does one of these, they're fire. Like every story in here is absolutely perfect. Gru meets the Peanuts, Calvin and Hobbes. I don't want to spoil them. I'll read this because this is a one-panel story by Ruben or Omac and Mark, and it's great. So these people are lined up, and at the top of the mountain here is Gru fighting just everyone. And I'm guessing they're all fighting him, waiting to fight him because they got a problem with him. So he says, so what's your issue with Gru? He sacked my whole village off a ravine. He ate my pet pony when it wandered off and didn't leave me any. Gru's flippy floppy loyalties caused 3 fights during my night watch. He wiped out my whole crew after I refused to pay him for the killing he did. Okay, that one's kind of my fault, but still, revenge. And someone's like, just don't like his face. Good stuff. Supreme goes to a public school, and he tries to like tell these kids good information and good advice, kind of like a dare officer or something, like the things you should do, and then he just kind of ended up scaring them and going too far. Hilarious story. I'm not gonna go too far into it. Kirby No More. This is a love letter to Jack Kirby, as far as I could tell. He's a veteran, just kind of all these things here. I don't want to get too into it. Actually, I should probably just save that one for anyone who buys it. That's a great story. Vera. So Ruben's work. Some more Ruben. Good stuff. Max. Street Angel made it in here. Jim Rugg. Technically an Image comic. Although it started as from what I remember, an internet story, and then self-published, which I do have an issue of their self-published Street Angel, and then eventually into Image Comics. Some more fun cartooning here. Kind of like based off of the crossovers, but also, if anyone remembers the Sega Genesis one, the terrible Justice League video game. It's kind of what it reminds me of. Violator. Sam and Twitch story. This is fun. It makes me hungry every time I read it. It's going through the drive-thru. Savage Dragon runs into Sam and Twitch. Ray Whitaker draws Lotus. Ray's working on his own comics right now. I kind of follow him. He's got some good stuff here. Obviously a callback to Angela. Spawn number 7, 9? Something like that. Spawn Art Gallery. I really like these. Great stuff. This is an interesting one because we're kind of getting close to the end here. I'll talk about Rennell for a second. Rennell Rogue or Roque. Colors by David Menchaca. Rennell is actually a kid. So as you can see here, he's got some talent. And Rennell would always spam the chat when we were in the group creating this with just daily working on art to get better. And the kid is on his way if he just keeps doing it. As you can see, like, spares no time just trying to get right into telling his favorite part of the story. And but he's still got it there, and he's trying to make his way and prove his chops. And shout out to Rennell for being such a talented artist at such a young age, which is really just really hard to do. Um, you have to have a certain uh, propensity to be, and just like go into doing this, which is really hard. I mean, you have to be an artist to just want to do that. So shout out to Rennell. Keep working hard, youngster. You'll get there. Ladies of Extreme 3000. This is a joke. I think it was something that didn't come out by Image eventually, but something they kind of like showed off. I don't remember the joke. I'm sorry. Interesting stuff here. Who is this done by? Rob Messick. Pencils Lanique, Dustin Tyree. Colors, Michael J. Dominguez. This is a pretty sexy story where the babes fight. And it's sideways, which is interesting. Makes it interesting for the book. I know I should turn it for you. Just like not even paying attention to the camera. Female love, baby. The swimsuit issue. Just kidding. All right, the pit. Great stuff. That's like a Hulk pit right there to me. Max story. Max reimagined. Kind of reminds me of David Lapham in a way. A little bit more cross-hatching than him, but like just the use of shadows and like kind of like that noir style. Sorry if I'm going through this really fast. I'm losing light. I did this later in the day. Plus, it's better to read this stuff anyway. Get the book, read it, contribute to the funds. John J.X. Kehoe? Youngblood story. That's a cool character there. Cool cartooning. I like this. More TMNT stories. Very dark. I think this is like an older TMNT story. Working a pizza joint. Anyway, all right. This is my story. This is the one I did. Spawn. Obviously, this cover is a callback to the Venom art. I forget who does it. Where his symbiote's kind of like jumping around like that. Issue 26 and a half. The reason why it's 26 and a half is because between 26 and 27, Spawn gets drunk with the bums in the alleyway. And I think it's at the end of 26. And I kind of wanted to depict a story in between Spawn issues 26 and 27 where Spawn meets the Max. So that's why it's 26 and a half. Yeah, Mr. Gone up here. Some Izzes. To get his face done right, it probably took me like 3 days. I literally should have just traced over his fucking face because I wasted so much time just trying to prove it to myself that I could get it right. Does anyone know who this is? They should if they were born in the 90s. So it's called A Bum in the Outback. Spawn gets super drunk here. Originally, I had a couple things here planned for dialogue. But Mark was like, hey, why don't we just make this a silent story instead of including all this dialogue? And I'm going to guess maybe he just didn't like the way I wrote it because it was meant to be over the top. Like, I thought that's what we were all doing, is doing over the top work. Like, I didn't think anyone was going to be taking these stories seriously. I thought we were just having fun here. So if that's the case, I didn't ask him, but his idea to make it a kind of mute story, I was like, you know what? Yeah, let's try that out. That's a good idea. So Spawn's getting drunk. Originally, I had one of the bums call out to him here in the darkness, like, hey, Spawn, come back, have another one. And he's just like stumbling off, like, oh, I'm drunk. Hell no. And kind of makes his way. He's like, Spawn, I need a place to sleep. And he goes into this box, which the box was representative and indicative of the Max. And on the box here, Mark told me, he's like, you should add something to let people know that this is the Max's box or something. So I drew like a little like chalk marking of a bunny and a woman with a stick and well-endowed boobs. And as you can see, this wasn't colored by me. This was colored by Arts by Kiko, which you can find on my Instagram, Cyberpunk Holiday. And I added in the background effects because I thought there needs to be something here to show that Spawn's transitioning into the Outback. So these breaks right here from the green to the white, because it's going to get very bright, is what I added. And we had to fix a couple things on Spawn because Arts by Kiko, he wanted his white face to be gold, which just didn't work. So anyways, I used a brush on all of this. Not a single thing was done with anything but a brush. It was a complete brush job. This is my first time using a brush. And the reason I specifically did that is because I'd never used a brush before. I always used like Copic pens or brush pens, not an actual brush. But anyway, I drew this weird thing flying overhead, kind of like meant to wake him up from coming into the Outback. And there's a like vinyl lining on it, almost like it's like like coming, like staticky coming together. And Spawn wakes up and this hand comes out and holds him down, and his chain comes alive and pulls out an is. And originally here is supposed to say something like, you were one ugly mother. And then like he like throws it down and stomps it. And the other ises come out here and try to attack him. Again, the grass has that like vinyl-ish, like there's staticky, like there's an interruption in the static, the mold of coming to the Outback. This is all fun to draw. This was literally like a blast. I don't want to take all the credit, and this goes back to William Messner Loebs and Sam Keith, is this paneling right here and some of these ideas. If you actually go to the Max issue number 1, I think, when he goes to the Outback the first time, this is the exact same way almost the Max enters into the Outback in his experience. He gets attacked by Izzes as well. And this open paneling with no borders is something that Sam Keith did. So I just kind of wanted to replicate that, almost as if like anyone who comes in the Outback, this is kind of the thing. They like run into the Izzes and violence ensues. Spawn charges up his blast here, and blasts all the Izzes away. And in the background here, we have the Max and the Jungle Queen. And I was just about to preparing to work on my own comic books for the first time in my life. And when I thought up the story, I was like, man, it's going to be like 10, 11 pages or something. It ended up being 11. And I said, I really need to kind of cut the fat on it. So the reason I chose Spawn going to the Outback in the first place was because I really didn't want to have to draw buildings and shit, right? Because that takes time, especially brick buildings and stuff in where Spawn is in the alleyway. That's why there's not a whole lot here. There's darkness. He's going over here where there's light. And then all of a sudden he's in nothing land, right? The Outback. So that was the whole point of the story, actually, was first off just thinking, like, how am I going to fit this into a schedule where I just need to get this done, and then I need to get moving on my own comic book, because my roommate, I know this is a lot of explaining, but this is the idea into how this story was made. My roommate was like, I'm going back home. You're going to have to live on your own, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, I got to rush this job and because my own comic book, I was like, I'm going to do 5 issues. If I have 5 months, I better get it done. Anyway, back to this. Again, you could tell kind of some of the brush strokes here. The hair, everything's a brush stroke. But he blasts him away, and there's a little, like, gah here. He's reaching out, and then splat by the Max. The dialogue here originally was like, like, who the hell are you? I already took care of your friends or whatever. And the Max is like, you don't belong here. I'm the Max. And they get into this little argument where Spawn's like, stay the hell away from me or else I'll blast you too. And the Max is like, and the Jungle Queen's like, get him. So they go at it. Max blocks the blast. And Spawn's like, whoa. And he knocks his hand away. And he's like, if you don't want to wake up, I'll wake you up. And he just, like, slams right into his face. Darkness. And then he wakes up in hell. But the thing about the hell waking up was that this is something the Max does in order to wake him up. He's not technically in hell. This isn't technically the Violator. But he's like, huh? Where am I? And he's like, the Violator. He's like, ha 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 ha. And he's like, little Spawny for lunch or something like that. And as he's throwing him into his mouth to eat him, the background here is like kind of ripping apart, like it's like Reboot or something, like 2 dimensions like cracking, and the static vinyl like comes back over the Violator, and there's this effect that Kiko added, that when he read the script, I mean, the kid who did this, it's literally a kid who colored this. When he read the script, he added all this. I did not add it at all. Like, he got it. And so then you have this one splash page, which actually took me longer than I would have liked. I still have the original art here in my art book, where Spawn's going into the Violator's mouth. And even the way I drew the mouth here was supposed to be like his mouth's ripping apart almost as an effect while Spawn's going into it, because he's kind of transitioning back into the real world. And he wakes back up in the alleyways here. And he says, terrible nightmare. I'm never drinking with those lousy bums again. Which I did right, but Mark added the because he did the lettering. And which we didn't actually give him credit for. Sorry about that, Mark. But he wakes back up in the alleyways. And yeah, that's the only point of dialogue in the whole story. Pencils, ink, story, me, colors, Francisco Villela, or on Instagram known as Arts by Kiko. I think that's it. So that was my story contribution into this, and it was the funnest thing to do. I had an absolute blast coming out with the page layouts. This was a lot of fun to draw. I had a hard time drawing Spawn's crotch. Believe it or not, it was not coming together, and I was like, why am I fucking focused on this crotch so much? But anyway, I digress. This was a lot of fun. All right. Really quickly, I'm just going to show off the original artwork here so everyone can kind of see it. I do still have it. It's in my big art book. Oh, shit. I do still have it. It's in my art book here. These pages are huge. This is the opening there. As you can see, there's a lot of whiteout blotches here because I foolishly was just like with the brush, like doing it, and then I would like run over something that was still wet like an idiot. There's still some blotches here that I didn't white out. Didn't even bother messing with it. You can kind of tell what Arts by Kiko did. Not Rennell. Check this out. So he colored the black and red. If you look in the original artwork here, or the finished product, it's red. The blood spilling over here onto the panel, I don't think that made it in. And then I didn't waste the ink because ink, while not expensive, I'm not a waster. I actually didn't even color in the darkness here. I did that post in Photoshop. Obviously, the splash page here. That's something I'm working on. That's not finished. But yeah, that's the original artwork. I figured maybe somebody would appreciate it if I just showed that real quick. Anyway, back to what I was doing. Some Spawn pinup right here. And then the end. Creator links, my Cyberpunk holiday here, and my email. Everyone else is here as well. Cool pinup of Rob Liefeld and his creations, Supreme and Youngblood. This page from Omax, the Super Nightmare ended up on the cutting room floor but is included here for your enjoyment. Quick one page by Omac. This is also Omac, aka Ruben. Cool dude, very nice dude. And then this is the jam page, as it was called, the jam cover. Every single artist that wanted to contribute to it contributed and did like each of these. I originally drew a bone character. Mark wasn't happy with it. I know my style is kind of weird, so he ended up having me do this guy. Forget his name already. And he wasn't too sure about that either. So I was like, it's all right, Mark. Like I'm just drawing this like as fast as I can. I know I'm not really putting any effort into it. Just do whatever the hell you want with it. If you don't want to put it on the jam cover, you don't have to. And he didn't reply back to me, but I was humbly surprised to see that he did, in fact, still include me here. So this one was drawn by me. Balthazar? I think it's called. I don't remember. I haven't read too much Bone. But cool jam cover. All artists, that contributed did a great job. This is Darkest Image 2. And I would humbly suggest that everyone go out and get a copy. We had a lot of fun putting this together. Everyone there was just there to show their love for Image Comics. Obviously, this is the second Darkest Image book. You can go to the website, which I will link below, and pick up, I think, the first one and the second one. There isn't a lot of copies of it left, Mark told the group. And all the funds are nonprofit and go to help out co-creator of the Max, William Esner Loebs. So go check it out if you can. Otherwise, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Let me know that we're having fun here. I will be back hopefully next time with my actual desk here, because this is the computer desk and there's not really that much space on it. I'm sorry. But yeah, just let me know what you think of the channel, and have a good day, everyone.